have been very much on a downward trend in the last few weeks.
Yeah, but they're still in contention, still in the running to get a bye, to be in the top 2 at the end of the regular season, to skip that first round in the quarterfinals. Now, I'm already liking what I'm seeing out of Unicorns, because I was going to bring up these utility AD carries for Hjarnan. We talked about, or heard about on the desk, about how G2 look to play through their solo laners. I think the best champions for Hjarnan on this patch are the Ashe and the Varus to help set up for the rest of the team.
Are they so important that G2 would use one of their early picks to get that Varus for Hjarnan?
I think so, honestly. You could look at a first or second pick for this Varus, and it's very unlikely we see the Unicorns go ahead and first pick that one, but I have to say the Aatrox has been left open, Medic.
Looks like it might get picked up here by the Unicorns. Seen it played in mid and in the top lane. Still very, very strong. Obviously being changed a little bit, but Akali is on the board as well. There's so many different options. Zoe there, Akali there. Looking towards the Aatrox as well.
I mean, I want to see Exile on. I'd love to see the Akali. Maybe not a first pick, but the Aatrox definitely has to be the lock-in here. And the great thing is for Unicorns, they can put that either in the top lane for White Knight or in the mid lane for Exile. The difficulty is, G2, I feel like, do not leave this open without a distinct plan, something to take on into it. And Wonder and Perks, man, if they have a counter pick ready, this is going to be the time for it.
There is the Varus that you talked about, though. Straight away for Hjarnan, great prediction there. And Sejuani is the jungler for Jankos. So not so much an early playmaker as we heard the analyst desk say they wanted to see.
But you can already see that G2 are setting up for a team fight. They have some pick tools, some long-range engage with both the Sejuani and the Varus. And now's where I look at a pick like a Tahm Kench to bail some of the Unicorns of Love's members out of a tough situation. Of course, that means that if they went for something like that, Totoro wouldn't be on a playmaker, which is really how Unicorns of Love have always found their wins. It's through Totoro roaming and getting kills for Exile.
Well, they are going to lock in the Rise for themselves now. Could, of course, go to Exile or even to Samux in that bottom lane. We haven't seen him on the stage for quite a while. Was known for the Heimerdinger and for some of those mages down towards the bottom side. And there's the Tahm Kench as well for the Unicorns. So already, your predictions are coming true here, Ender.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty stock standard at the moment. Braum would be a great answer into that Tahm Kench here for Would give G2 Esports a very safe bottom lane. They can save some counter picks for this second rotation of picks as they lock in that Braum. And what that means now for G2, we're very likely going to see some marksman bans thrown the way of the Unicorns of Love. Junglers too. Trundle's already been taken off the board, but could be looking at something like a Gragas that we know Cold can go ahead and play to take some of these playmaking opportunities away from the Unicorns.
Does make a lot of sense. As we get into the second ban phase, just want to inform everyone watching at home and everyone in the audience here, Unicorns of Love will not get their 5th ban of this game, so the second ban of this phase due to a late roster submission. So they miss out on that ban, means they'll either leave this one up or the next one up. Ezreal removed by G2. There's the Aurelia ban from the Unicorns. That's their final ban of the game, and G2 maybe will look towards those junglers once again.
Yeah, the Aurelia ban's a good one here. Did receive some buffs, some tweaks on 8.15. Nerfs to range, buffs to some damage in different categories. The Kindred, though, I like seeing taken away from Cold. He was one of the players, even before she got buffed around the time of Rift Rivals, that wanted to play that champion. We heard he was popping off with it in scrims, but never really got the chance until those buffs came in, and then he just played as much of it as he could.
Now, I want to take a step back from the draft and talk about something we talked about a lot during the weekend, and it's the priority both these teams have on counter picks and winning matchups. Now, we said that G2 would want Perks and Wonder to have winning matchups in their lane. They pretty much know who they're going to play against now, so what are you expecting them to pick?
Oh, G2, I think they go for something like a Gnar. I'm thinking a safe, blind, pickable top laner, because they don't know exactly if this Rise could be flexed around yet. Of course, you expect it to be in that mid lane. If they wanted to go full-on counter pick, though, we have seen hyper-mobile champions in the top lane be very popular into the Aatrox. I was going to bring up the Fiora, but the Camille is another one of those that can use the hook shot to dodge around those sweet spots and win trades against that Aatrox.
Yeah, still a pretty safe top laner as well. You can escape from ganks pretty easily. Unicorns here looking towards their AD carry, it would seem. Samux, very well known for his Jhin, would not be surprised to see that locked in at all. And then the jungler, the final pick for Unicorns. That Gragas is still on the cards.
I would expect it to be the Gragas. Right now, the Unicorns of Love don't have a ton of great engage tools. Yes, you have the Jhin, you can throw out some bullets, slow people down, maybe look for a pick here and there, but they don't have that big, high impact ability. A Gragas explosive cask would 100% fit that bill, Medic.
And there it is. Ender, you predicted 3 picks this big ban. Has been pretty impressive.
Pick and ban is
in
easy,
all honesty.
Medic. So easy.
Don't say that to Vedia.
Oh, let's go! Oh, yeah, baby!
Pick and ban is easy, boys!
Okay.
Perks gets a Kali. Let's go, Ender!
I'm so excited for this. I am so excited for this, guys. Perks on the Akali. Now, I tested this champion. I know firsthand how frustrating it can be to play something like the Rise into the Akali, because of course you guys all know the W, the obscurity with that Shroud, means that you can't click on her when she's in it, when she's invisible. Rise is a champion that must click on you to get damage down, and that's not going to be an option here in this matchup.
Oh, words cannot express how excited I am for this right now. I've only played with Akali. Vedius has been trying to play it in blind pick. It hasn't looked that impressive to me, unsurprisingly, but the pros have been talking about it. Everyone's saying it's giga broken at the moment. It's totally busted. You can tower dive and reset aggro like 3 or 4 times. So we're going to get into the game. It's the final chance for the Unicorns, and G2, this is the moment for them to show they deserve to be amongst the top in Europe, and what a better way to do it than with Akali for Perks.
And we know that G2 loves to play through their solo laners, get them an early advantage, let them split push later on into the game. Well, Akali is the champion for Perks right here. I'm so excited to see it debut on the professional stage, because man, oh man, with Perks piloting it, it's gonna be a treat.
Okay, we're gonna take time to talk about Akali when we get into the laning phase, when we actually watch that matchup play out, because I know you have a lot of knowledge about it. But before we get there, I want to look at the Unicorns lineup as a whole. We talked about how G2 want this sort of team fighting composition. Unicorns, on the other hand, have a bit of engage, have a bit of team fight. Looks like they still want a similar thing.
Yeah, I think it's very important here for Cole to protect his solo laners in the early game, because this team comp on the side of Unicorns definitely can scale. You've got a lot of damage in the mid to late game, but usually when G2 play against teams lower than them in the standings, they will shut them out in the first 15 minutes. You'll see Perks and Wonder popping off with the help of Jankos. Now, Unicorns have to stop that from happening, have to stop the ganks coming in from Jankos in order to get through this early lane.
That's what they said in the analyst desk. Keep track of Jankos and you can get through that early laning phase, maybe scale up into some strength later on. We've delayed it long enough. It's been a minute. Let's talk about Akali. Let's talk about Akali. Okay, Perks here in the mid lane. What is it about Akali that makes her so busted?
So the best ability in the kit has to be the W. What it does, basically, you drop down this circle, and inside the circle, you are obscure. Now, that is a new type of buff where not only are you invisible, but you actually can't be targeted by towers. Towers will not reveal you. They'll reveal an outline of you, but this makes it such a potent tool when it comes to diving towers, either in mid lane or later on in the game. If you're trying to dive someone in a side lane, you can aggro the turret, de-aggro it very quickly, get away, and I expect to see members of G2 constantly making their way towards this mid lane to make use of that ability.
As much as Akali has changed, if you've played against her before her rework, she has a very similar playstyle. It's about dashing around, resetting fights, resetting aggro, just jumping around like the ninja that she is to try and get all that extra damage down.
Yeah, she's not quite as locked in place as before, though. Her old ultimate was a point and click. Now she has the mobility of her E, where she does a little Caitlyn net backward, then can jump forward like a Lee Sin Q. And her ultimate, of course, not targeted. She can go wherever she wants and try to make plays happen. But you'll see in the laning phase, the shurikens she tosses out. The kunai, I believe, is the actual turn. That's her Q. She can farm with that from range, sustain a little bit when she's near maximum energy, and then drop down the W so she can farm safely.
However, Exile can catch Perks as he comes out of that obscurity. I'm just going to call it invisibility, in all honesty, because obscurity is too hard.
Well, see, obscurity is an important term because when I look at it, the gameplay around it, the counterplay, is very obscure to me.
Sure, that sounds very much like someone who worked on the development team and was like, I really want this to be called obscurity. I don't think we can call it invisibility.
Different, Medic.
It's so different.
Know your terms.
But one of the struggles for Akali is her laning phase, of course, and Perks is getting pushed in here, which is why we expect someone like Jankos to be looking around the mid lane, looking for those early ganks to try and shut down Exile. And when Jankos plays well, he really plays well. He's very good at helping his team get towards these winning positions. You can see in wins, he averages 17 CS more at 15 minutes than in losses. More kills and assists, and more gold for himself as well. So a lot of Jisoo's success revolves around Jankos.
And that's why I'm maybe a little bit concerned about this Akali pick, because he needs the rest of his team to be successful to make these plays happen. Right now, it's around the top side of the map where Wunder is pushing. That enables him to walk into the enemy jungle, and you can really see how it ties in to when G2 are able to win games and when they lose games, because it's all about Jankos. When he has those successful games, it means they're getting more turrets in the early game, they're getting more kills in the early game, because he's the one pulling the trigger.
Look at that gold difference of 15 minutes. 5,000 gold ahead on average in wins and 1,000 gold behind in losses.
And that doesn't even include funnel games, Medic. That is actually insane.
Imagine a funnel Akali.
No, I never want to imagine funnel
Never
again.
want
It
to
is
have to
dead.
think about
Do
it.
not bring it back, Medic.
We have the power pick for the Unicorns in the top lane is that Aatrox, something we have seen funneled in the past, but I really wonder how the Unicorns are going to answer this Akali, because it's something we've never seen on the professional stage before, this reworked Akali. And Unicorns must have known it was a possibility. Everyone's been talking about it. They decided to go for this very specific pick ban where they got the Aatrox early on. They picked the Jhin for Samux as well. And they need to find ways to answer perks on this Akali.
Yeah, and you have to remember, it's only been out for a week here. There has not been much time for these teams to get accustomed to playing around with it and definitely playing against it. And if you actually look at Akali, she's very difficult to gank in the mid lane. Think of it sort of similar to a Fizz or a LeBlanc, where she has a dash attached to her E, but also because she can just drop down that shroud and cover a huge distance while staying invisible, or obscure, if we want to call it that. She is one of the most difficult champions to actually gank and shut down early on, and once she goes into a side lane later, it's very hard to actually 1v1 her.
Hey, let's move away from the Akali for a moment, because we do have power picks in the other lanes for G2. Wunder's got the Camille. We talked about how we wanted to see the solo lanes win for G2. We wanted to see pressure from them. Already Wunder's forcing White Knight back. Jankos actually coming down towards the duo lane in the bottom side. Totoro and Samux need to be aware. We did there with the flash in. Totoro, no Devour on him. And first blood goes to G2, and it was all about the solo lanes for us, but it was all about the bot lane for G2.
Yeah, Totoro gets out but just by the skin of his teeth, but not sure why the Devourer did not come out there. He might have been able to save Samux, spit him out on the other side with a flash, but this is a different change in the early game for G2, playing through their bottom lane, something I haven't seen them do, quite frankly, since the first game of the split, when they were bringing out Fiddlesticks and Heimerdinger. Now, with the CC lockdown of Braum Sejuani, I like to see this change up for them.
So good for them as well. A lot of people wondered if on 8-15 Hjarnan would be able to play these AD carries, actually get ahead on these marksmen, and we talked about utility in pick ban, how the Varus is a great pick for him. Well, it's working out wonders for them at the moment. White Knight there, a lot of damage through that execute as well onto Wunder. Electrocute, not execute.
Yeah, of course Wunder sustains back there with the W proc, so some back and forths in the top lane. Wunder was winning this earlier. Now that he has the Tiamat, he can try to clear away some of these minion waves. But I want to touch on Hjarnan just one more time, because earlier today we saw the lethality Varus being picked. Very much about this early to mid game, finding a lot of poke. Hjarnan, though, went for a Vampiric Scepter on his first back. So he is all-inning on this team fight later on to the game, which is interesting, because when I see Camille Akali, I think that they would be looking to split the map up. And Hjarnan is clearly saying that they're comfortable looking to force fights with those picks.
It's a little bit of a dichotomy, though, because after the first 3 picks of the G2 draft, we were saying team fight. You know, they've got Sejuani, they've got Varus, they've got Braum. That's an incredible team fight. So maybe Hjarnan's accepting that his solo laners can pick off people if they want to, can do those damage in the side lanes, but if a team fight comes around, he's one of the key damage dealers.
Definitely, he's going to be the damage coming in from range, and honestly, if you're so busy on the Unicorns of Love side, focused on peeling your carries from an Akali and a Camille diving onto you, he's going to have free time to try and pump out the DPS and get a lot done in these fights. Do have to mention, though, that Perkz in this mid lane is doing a great job of keeping up in CS. It is difficult to make it through the laning phase in the 1v1 as Akali and stay relatively even, but he went for the immediate Merc Treads to try and avoid all that lockdown that the Rise is going to bring and to allow her to farm a little bit easier.
Really interested to see how Perkz does build. We'll track that first item, because I've seen a few different things in solo queue, but you never quite know how that's going to translate onto the professional stage. Don't think we need to dive into it too much yet. I feel like the first 7 minutes of this have been very Akali focused, and that's actually what Cold's trying to do here as well, as he looks for a gank onto Perkz. Won't be able to land it yet.
Of course, with all of this good vision on the bottom side of the map, it makes it pretty easy for Perkz just play towards that bottom side of the map. Maybe look for a roam eventually, because now Hjarnan and Wadid have been doing very well pushing up on that bottom side. Of course, G2, they have not looked that great since Rift Rivals. They were the pride and joy of Europe when they went over there, took home the trophy at that event. But now, Wonder has to sense something is coming as the blast cone does not work out for
It was deliberate. They were getting him to the red buff. So important to get him to the red buff in time, but Perk's actually coming up here. Exile on the way as well. Perk's goes in with perfect execution, looking for those stuns. Wonder jumps the wall, and Cold is caught out. Hexagone comes down. There's one, but White Knight turns it right back around, and Perk's has to run for the hills. Here's the Realm Warp. Jankos just dodging away from it. Both teams accept the 1-for-1 and back away.
A little bit of craziness right there. Perk's desperately wants to go in there for the fight. Hopefully get a replay of that soon and wait out a bit of this pause, but goes to show how much time you can buy with that shot. He dove in 1v3, kept Cold waiting around there, waiting to make that play happen, was able to trade 1-for-1 in the end.
I want to just take a bit of a wider picture here, because we've been very micro-focused. We've been very in-game
More
focused.
Akali medic,
It's
it's what the people want.
Akali's cool, but not quite enough yet. Not cool enough for me. I haven't seen
those tattoos,
the full
though,
dodger.
man? Like,
the
what are you
tattoos super
talking
cool, actually.
about?
I really like the tattoos. Very much like that design. But I want to just remind everyone how important this game is for G2. They're sitting at 9-5 at the moment. They've started to see, Misfits 11-4, Fnatic at 10-4. They've got a relatively easy game later on today as well against Giants. So both of those teams should be 11-4 by the end of the day. And if G2 don't win this game, they're starting to slip back. After such a promising start, they really should have been top 2 for the entirety of the split, but they haven't been able to keep up that form.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at must-win matches for a lot of these teams, with G2 playing against the Unicorns of Love, you expect them to be able to win this match. This is one of those against the lower teams in the standings that they absolutely have to be able to take down. Now, of course, in this replay, Wonder is so far away from the rest of G2, but Perk says, you know what, that's all right. I can go and use the first charge of the ultimate to land the stun there onto Colt and lock him down. And then with the obscurity, with that shroud, he's able to wait around in that fight and not go down immediately, even though it was pretty much 2v3 at the start.
Yeah, it was. Just as a note, League officials are investigating a report from Wonder that he lost sight of his champion during that last team fight. So hopefully we'll get that sorted very soon. I'm sure we'll get more information as that does go on, but not the best thing to happen. Maybe he was in the shroud. Maybe he was obscured. Who knows, Ender?
He just disappeared. What happened? New champions always bring with them their fair share of problems.
That's true. I'm
but
sure
also
you've experienced
great
that a lot
things.
on the playtest team. Lots of bugs and things you have to fix.
Yeah, like Kha'Zix. We fixed him. We got rid of the permanent invisibility on the R-Evolve. That was, woo!
It wasn't a bug, but it was pretty broken, nonetheless.
Yes.
On the converse side to our G2 top of the table narrative, I think you have to look at the Unicorns of Love and think, once again, it's a split where everyone calls them the scrim gods. Everyone says, this team is challenging us in scrims, but they just somehow don't seem to be able to execute on stage.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the first 3 weeks of the ULCS, there was a lot of talk about, oh, this was maybe a 4th best team in EU, and those conversations slowly started dwindling away after losses came in for the Unicorns of Love, but they have to be able to win these games that are so important to them to even make in the playoffs. They have to win out from here on.
Just so that everyone knows, we have confirmed that there was a bug, and Wonder did lose sight of his character, so we'll work out exactly what we're going to do with that. You can see the rest of today's games on your screen right now. Fnatic up against Giants could be a really good one, because Giants went 2-0 last week and beat Misfits.
And Reckless is back, baby! Oh! He's in the bottom lane.
My headset fell off.
You were that excited?
So excited.
Oh my god. You're off the chains, man. You're so excited to see some Reckless.
Okay, don't tell anyone this, Ender, but our manager really likes it when we talk about Reckless.
Reckless.
So if we just say Reckless a bunch of times, he's going to be super happy.
We may or may not be paid more depending on how many times we say Reckless in a broadcast.
Oh, Reckless, 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 Reckless,
yeah.
Reckless, Reckless.
It is almost reckless how we're saying this.
It is. It's indeed very reckless. Final match of the day is going to be incredibly exciting as well.
That's a good one too.
Schalke up against Vitality. Schalke 7-1 in their last 8 games. Pretty devastating from them. We are just finalizing what's going on with the end of this pause, but let's I'm trying to think of exactly what part I want to break down next, because I kind of just want to keep talking about Akali, but I know that we've talked a lot about Akali. Okay, you wanted to talk about laning phase and lane matchups, okay? We've talked a little bit about the rise into Akali, how Akali can be very good into rise because you can't point and click. But what about Camille into Aatrox?
Camille into Aatrox is an interesting one, because actually before this play started, Camille was doing really well in the lane phase, had a CS advantage of between 5 to 10 for those first few minutes, but then, of course, after the death, things have gone a little bit down the opposite direction. Now, Camille, why she works so well into Aatrox is because she has so many tools to try and avoid the sweet spot. That's the knock-up and the bonus damage you get whenever Aatrox lands the Q in the perfect position. Because of her hook shot, she can very easily...
I call it the stabby zone.
The stabby zone.
Yeah.
Did you know? So, Aatrox's Q in development was called Q Dodge Minigame. Anyways, just thought I'd get that in there before I continue to break down this sick matchup. But you can actually get on top of him because Aatrox wants to play at a little bit of a range around you with those sweet spots. You can easily force those attacks right on top of him.
It's very interesting to see how willing people are to pick some of these matchups, because Aatrox is widely regarded as a must red side ban. You know, Aatrox, Taliyah, Nocturne, you have to ban it, otherwise you're just going to lose the game. But G2 here being pretty confident in the pick ban phase by leaving that Aatrox up. Haven't really seen too much of the junglers early on, apart from that skirmish where we got a couple of kills. Jankos has done a good job, actually, in the early game, ganking bot, then getting that skirmish up towards the top side. Yeah,
it's been interesting because Jankos has definitely been focused around his dual lane in the bottom side, even though we look at Varus Braum and it's like, oh, well, that's, you know, can definitely play more passively in the laning phase, clear away minion waves. They don't have to have a lot of resources devoted into them. But now, there's definitely the ability for Jankos to revisit that lane if they want to sort of change this G2 narrative of, oh, we only really play about and care about our solo laners. They can keep going down to that bottom lane. Now that there's, you know, the flash missing on Totoro, Hjarnan's level 6, Jankos is level 6, there's options for G2.
There are options, but here's my sort of more meta question for you, Ender. Do you need to change your meta game? Do you need to change your narrative? When you've got someone like Perks and Wonder who are both on carries this game, if you get them ahead, probably going to be able to snowball the game away from your opponents. Do you really need to go bot and be like, okay, guys, we'll give you a little bit of a hand because the other lanes are going to win? Why not just help them?
Well, I think that you can't always rely on the solo lanes because you look at specific drafts. In this case, G2 are on red side. They saw the solo lane picks on the side of Unicorns, but they're not always going to be red side. They're not always going to be able to get the counter pick, so you might not be able to replicate that same level of success.
So Ender, after confirming an in-game bug where Wonder lost vision on his character in a teamfight, G2 and the Unicorns have accepted a chrono break of the game, which will restore the game to the last dead ball state. We are reversing the game to the moments just before that teamfight. And I know you are the chrono break wizard.
Yes.
Happens whenever you're around.
So fun fact, I used to be a referee, as I'm sure you all know by now. I was on stage.
That's a little bit arrogant, and it's like, I used to be a referee.
Hey, no.
I was a big deal. I shook Faker's hand once.
It is true. Well, I didn't shake Faker's hand, but I held his peripherals. I used his mouse, his keyboard.
If only you could have absorbed some of his skill.
I think I did. Have you seen the LCK recently? Anyways, I used to be a referee, and I was on stage at the NA LCS for the very first chrono break of all time. It was FlyQuest versus Cloud9. I was sitting behind FlyQuest, and all of a sudden, the game explodes. We have to do this chrono break thing, and I'd never heard of it. No one had ever told me about it. And all of a sudden, they're like, hey, get ready for chrono break. I'm like, what is that? What's going on? It was like my second week on the job. And that's the story of how I got for the very first chrono break. And it was funny too, because it was like a 30-minute pause, because chrono break back at the start of the day was so, it took forever to make it happen. Now it's like a few minutes max, and we'll be right back in there.
Probably shouldn't have said that before we got back into the game. And,
but anyways,
curse us again.
Anyways, it shouldn't be that long. But here's the thing. Everyone goes off stage, or a lot of them, because they, wanted to, mind their own business. Lemonation stays up there on FlyQuest. And we have a little chat. It was great. It was like, how's your day going? It's like, pretty good.
Oh, really good, apart from this 30-minute pause.
Well, it was great for them because the fight went horribly wrong for them. And then they got to chrono break back, and then it went really well for them the second time.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Did it go horribly wrong for them because of the issue?
Yeah, so
that's fine.
Yeah, the bug was basically Misfortune ult got canceled by I want to say, I think it got canceled by a cannon minion. Like, the cannon minion apparently just somehow blocked all the damage. Not sure how that bug gets into the game.
We're back in. There's actually a fight going on straight away. Cold gets the knockback.
Oh,
Perks gets the flash. Exile with the chase.
Baby.
But the obscurity from Perks saves his life.
All right, so we have a little less action this time around because Perks gets out and nobody dies. But that's what I'm talking about. It is so hard to actually knock down this champion.
Are you happy I used obscurity as well?
I'm so happy, Medic.
So.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, it does mean that Perks has to burn his flash. Did use both of the charges of his ultimate as well to get away, but exchange of summoner spells as Exile used his own flash to try and secure the kill. Red buff was stolen by the Unicorns, so maybe they kind of come out on top because before it was a 1-for-1 and they didn't get the red buff. Here it's a 0-for-0 and they did get the red buff.
A little bit of a win perhaps, and I think for them it's about the map control they actually gained off of this play. You look at all that deep vision on the top side of the map. This means White Knight can shove up, Cold can maybe look for a dive in the near future. Well, on the other hand, G2's bottom lane has been allowed to free farm, get down a lot of deep vision themselves, and the map has just been sort of sliced in half for these two teams.
But, I mean, you talk about free farm from the bottom lane. Cleanse used by Totoro. Widid's going to jump in here. Samek's there, but there's the Glacial Fissure, and this should be a kill onto Totoro, as you say. Tries to turn it back around, but Hjarnan secures it, and free farming minions, it seems, for Hjarnan.
Really nicely done there from Hjarnan and Widid. They knew there was no flash on Totoro. As soon as Hjarnan's ultimate caught out that support, he had to cleanse away. He had the spellbook, so he got out very briefly, but G2's dual lane, stepping up, man. Proving all the haters wrong. Proving Deficio and Vedius wrong.
White Knight and Wonder trading in the top side, but Jankos on his way, no prison yet. Just about to come off cooldown. Here's Cold as well, trying to turn this one back around for the Unicorns. Cold, cask back, but Jankos will assault his way underneath the tower.
Yeah, this matchup is turning its head very hard right now. Wonder solo, he's going to be zoned away from all these minions onto the turret, but right now you see both supports from these teams running up towards the top side of the map. G2 do not want to give this away too easily.
The amount of times I get confused by unsealed spellbook supports at the moment, I'm just like,
here we go.
Why does Widid have those summoner spells, and why is White Knight still under the tower? Somehow he gets out, dies to the skirmisher's saber. Jankos falls as well as Samek's joined the fray. Wonder trying to get away from this. Widid with a great block, but Exile running his way towards the fight. Rune Prison on towards the Braum, eaten up in the belly of the beast. And the Unicorns get 2 in the top lane.
Great attack there from the Unicorns. They knew Tahm Kench could bring in 2 members to that fight. Well, it was only Widid there to respond on the side of G2. Not only will that get them a couple of kills, but also will mean the first turret.
Can they race Hjarnan down towards the bottom side for this first tower? Hjarnan is chipping away at it, but you'd assume that Sameks and Totoro can secure top side first. And that's exactly what they're going to do. First tower blood to the Unicorns. With it, a very slight gold lead, but not for very long, as Hjarnan should be able to take this tower down as well. Might not get it this wave, actually. So, Unicorns keep their gold lead for a little bit longer.
Actually, because White Knight's made his way down here, it might not mean the turret goes down immediately, although with only 1 member here to defend, still difficult to hold on to this tower unless you just kill Hjarnan.
Gets hit by the stabby spot, but turns it back around with a Chain of Corruption. Teleport coming in. And Widid is the one to join the fight. Teleport, Widid misses the flash. But they do still get the tower in the end. Perks and Jankos on their way down towards this bottom lane, looking for an opportunity to fight, but instead they'll just take the tower. And the best bot lane in the West is 2-0 up with the Blade of the Ruin King complete.
That is true. Officially the best bot lane in the West after Rift Rivals. Now, gonna take one more look at this dive in the top side, because again, at the start, it looks really good for G2. They have the collapse with Wonder and Jankos to make it into the fight, but Tahm Kench rotates faster than Braum. Sameks gets into the fight. The damage dealer for Unicorns of Love is absolutely pivotal in this one, as well as the roam from Exile. They were just so prepared for that play to break out that G2 actually going in was exactly what the Unicorns needed to pull the trigger.
However, as much as Unicorns have won a couple of these early skirmishes, it's still a gold lead for G2, and they still have a Kali on their team.
It's true.
He's got 105 CS, only 10 CS down, finished the Mercury Treads, double longsword, probably building up towards the Bilgewater Cutlass. Sameks finds himself not in the best of shapes here. Perks has a stun, Obscurity misses.
Ult him, please.
Perks has the stun, there we go. Woo.
Yeah, so by the way, Akali has a stun now on her ultimate, so can interrupt the teleport there from Sameks. Was also waiting for Jankos to throw out his Glacial Prison. Was
either of them.
Either of them worked.
I think you could say that stun from Perks was not a perfect execution.
Oh, well.
Right up towards the top side, there's one that gets caught out underneath this tower. Unicorns answer on the other side of the map. That's what they need to do. They can even look to take this tower in the top side.
Unfortunate comedic timing, but Unicorns love. They're always
very funny though,
ready
Ender.
to fight. They're pushing for that second turret in the top lane, and two members of the Unicorns are coming down here towards the mid as well. They actually might be able to save this tower.
I'll try and do it, but Yankoshan and Enwood do have quite a bit of damage. A sweet salt.
Oh, this is bad.
Lots of damage coming down onto Wadid. He's tanking up the tower now. White Knight going in with the ult, but forced away by G2. Perks not going to dive in just yet. Could do it at any moment, though. Flash is up on Samix, but can you escape the beast that is Perks on Akali? Tower falls in the top lane. Unicorns of Love still doing a good job about playing around the map. Samix eaten up. Teleport coming in as well. And Todobo's just going to get stun locked for days. Perks will help his team secure the kill. Gets his second of the game. Cold now with the flank. We want to get out of here.
Baby.
Wonders on the chase. Wall dive. Perks still there. There's the Hexa ultimatum as well. And Cold has no place to go. The Ignite is down and Cold will tick away.
And out of nowhere, we've got a 3-0 Akali here for
baby.
Perks. He's ready to take off in this match, and it's unfortunate too from the Unicorns because I feel like they've been playing the map so well, but G2 just painted a target on this bottom lane of the Unicorns of Love and have punished them at every turn.
Gunblade finished now for Perks as well. We do have another pause coming out. Sure, we'll get this rectified very quickly. It looks like it's coming from the side of the Unicorns of Love. League officials will investigate.
I love it when they investigate, man.
Oh, it's the best part. Did you not see it the other day? It's Medius and Vedius on the case. Get the pipes out, get the magnifying glasses out.
I wish I could have been a part of that, man. Why didn't you invite me?
In all honesty, your name doesn't have an eus at the end.
That's true.
Endius just doesn't really work. It sounds like some sort of bad doctor.
Yeah, like medic.
Kappa?
Yeah, Kappa. You're right.
What did we decide our Twitch chat emote was last time? Was it Kappa Pride?
Kappa Pride was the one that really stuck with the
okay,
fans.
That's cool.
I don't know why.
That's a good one. Let's jump back to this 3-0 Akali, though. We've finished the Hextech Gunblade. I have seen some Akalis go Duskblade first, which is why I was waiting before we saw that first build, but Gunblade is usually the way we go.
Yeah, she does have ratios for both magic damage and physical damage, but the Gunblade is certainly the best option for her. It gives her sustain, gives her some survivability in the side lane, and also just makes the best of both worlds with both AD and AP. And that burst damage you get from the point click is nothing to be laughed at there too, Medic.
And what a great player to have that sort of fed, you know, all of the gold on.
Oh, yeah.
It's Perks. We talked about how he works so well with Jankos. Seems to have been able to do it this game, roaming around. You've got Wonder in a good spot as well. You've got Hyun in a good spot. G2 seem to have found their form on 8:15 that they couldn't find before.
Yeah, I think the bottom lane specifically, too, has looked so good in this match. We saw an early gank from Jankos, then they find a 2v2 kill in that matchup. I'm excited for this lane. Now that we're seeing them step up a little bit more, seeing Jankos put some resources into them, especially because you look at this match, well, Perks received 0 attention there in the mid lane. He farmed it up, he looked for some roams himself, but it definitely wasn't the usual G2 show where everyone's trying to come to this mid lane, help him out, and let him solo carry the game.
And our analysts on the AD, on the analyst desk, said, Exile just needs to stay even. Doesn't work so well when you're playing into an Akali. You kind of need to shut her down before she gets rolling. I do have a bit more information. League officials are investigating a potential vision bug on the side of the Unicorns of Love. So we'll get that sorted out as soon as possible. We've got disappearing champions. We've got disappearing vision or appearing vision or whatever type of vision is happening at the moment. But
we've got Akali.
We need you back on the playtest team. I'm not just saying that because I don't like casting.
Okay, so I need to clarify something right here. Playtest team, we don't fix bugs.
Yeah, but you find the bugs.
Actually, no. So so here's the thing. If we find a bug, we report it.
Yeah.
Hope it gets fixed. You know, goes through the process to make that happen.
Okay.
But our job was never to specifically go out and search for bugs. It was all about finding out, well, maybe this champion's too OP. If you want a nerf in, designer says we're aiming.
Okay, no. I need to stop you there. First, we're going to get back into the game.
No,
I
want to talk about playtest.
But secondly, As part of the playtest team, you tried to work out if a champion was too OP, and
Okay.
Zoe exists.
No, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. We would inform the designers. We tell them here's what the day 1 win rate will be for Zoe.
70
Here's
million
what day
percent.
7 win rate will be for Zoe.
80 million %.
90 million% was what it ended up being.
It's just too strong.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back on into the game. Unicorns of Love, 3-6 down.
Ah!
Let's not get back on into the game. It's a 1,000 gold difference, though, and that's what I was going to bring up, because the Unicorns are not in the worst spot. Yes, you've got a Fedakali. Yes, you've got a Varus who's getting up towards 1-2 items, but you're only 1,000 gold down.
Yeah, but imagine what you could go buy with 1,000 gold, Medic. That's like a Giants belt you could share with the team.
Like 400 gold across your entire team.
Yeah. Well, that's not how math.
400 health is what I meant. Not gold. But like a Giants belt isn't actually that impactful, in all honesty. At this moment in time, this early on in the game, it's not the end of the world for Unicorns.
Yeah.
And it's important that we note they do still have a playoff chance. There are scenarios where Unicorns still make it into playoffs.
It's true. Even though they have to win out all of their games, assuming some matches in the future go properly for them, if they win out all their games, they do have a chance. But I think it's interesting looking at these two teams because a lot of the time in this game, I think we're going to see a lot of scrappy fights, 2v2s, 3v3s, just because the nature of these champions is about roaming and forcing action. You look at Akali, she wants to be in the side lane, she wants to be looking for kills, looking for assassinations. You look at Ryze, even though he's set up to be more of a team fighter, you've still got the Realm Warp, you're still going to be trying to roam around the map with a Tahm Kench and find those plays like we've seen so far in this game.
Yay!
Yeah.
It was an identically reported vision bug from G2, so we just restarted their clients.
Nice.
And we're right back on into the action. But those globals are incredibly important for the Unicorns. You do have double teleport as well on Samix and Totoro. White Knight has his. They're going to start up the Rift Herald here. G2 looking to react.
Now, Perks doesn't have TP on this Akali, so he's going to be a little bit slow to make it on up here. The rest of G2, though, are in the area and are going to be looking for a fight, it feels like.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Big fight. Let's go. Let's go.
Come
Rift
on.
Herald. Come on.
Don't leash it for him.
There we go. Chain of Corruption. Easing up straight away out of the Glacial Prison, but Rift Herald gets smited out, and Jankos will pick it up. Unicorns might look for the fight here. They do land the root only onto Tiana, and we did. Stands in the front line. Glacial Fisher down to disengage. And the Unicorns just leash the Rift Herald for G2.
Man, it felt like Unicorns could look for a fight there after a couple of ultimates got blown on the side of G2. Of course, at the start of that fight, White Knight didn't have the ultimate up, so if he was going to dive in, he wouldn't be able to get that resurrection off, and I think that was actually the big factor in why Unicorns did not end up sticking on that objective and trying to make that fight
But
happen.
they give up so much for
I
not
know.
taking the fight. You give up the Cloudy Boy, the Vape Drake, you give up the Rift Herald as well. And it's just not a great situation, because the more you give up against a team that has things that will scale up, like the Varus, like the Akali, the worse it gets.
Yeah, I hate giving stuff to a team that has things. That's just the
Oh, it's
worst, because
so
then they have
annoying.
even more things.
It's like, oh, do you actually need that many things? You could do with one thing less.
No, G2 want all the things, because right now, a couple of things they've got a Cloud Drake, which is going to let them run away from the stage faster, because we have another pause, guys. And they've also got a Rift Herald, which can maybe break through the issues that they're experiencing here. Break through the pause screen.
I want to bring attention back to the fact that you said, oh, it's cool, we'll be getting back into the game after the chrono break. And I said, you shouldn't say that this early, Ender.
Well, we did get back into the game. I made no promises about what was going to happen after that.
Well, what did happen was a relatively even game. G2 have taken a slight advantage, looking, of course, still for that buy into semifinals, for that position in Madrid. After such a strong spring split, they'll be looking to challenge whoever they face in the finals if they make it there. And Unicorns, just looking for a win from somewhere, in all honesty. Got a pretty tough schedule in front of them as well. They play up against Rocket, then H2K, then Fnatic on the final day. But if you can take a win against G2, you can probably take a win against Rocket, you can probably take a win against H2K, although Misfits didn't look like they could. And then you only have Fnatic to beat, and you're pushing for a playoffs berth.
Yeah, it's a tough road ahead. There's no doubt about that, but I think Deficio mentioned it well on the desk. Momentum is going to be key for this team. I feel like this team, you give them a couple wins under their belt, they can ride that wave of success, maybe take into a playoff spot. Still not entirely in their hands whether or not that would end up being able to happen, but I don't know, man. G2, even though the early game has been very, very even for them, These are the doubts you don't want to have as a G2 fan. You want them to come into this game, business as usual, take care of the Unicorns of Love, and move on to bigger and better things. But it has been a struggle for them, and they're working through it.
That's the important thing, I think, as well. Like, I look at this G2, just the champions they picked, the actual draft, and I wouldn't be too concerned if we were even at 20 minutes. Like, you look at the fact you've got Varus, Camille, Akali, even at 20 minutes, I'll take that. You've got an okay team fight with the Sejuani Varus ults. You've got Akali, you can always pick someone off. Having a mediocre early game, as long as they're going even or a little bit better against the Unicorns, who are known for a relatively good early game at times, doesn't concern me too much.
Yeah, and I think that this game is going to be decided to which team can actually play the map better. When we have so many split pushers, it's going to be chaos all across the board, Medic.
That it is. Well, while League officials investigate the issues on stage, we're going to head on over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Medic. Of course, we apologize for the delays, but at this point, it's better that it's found out what is exactly causing all the issues than that we keep jumping in and out of game. I think that's better for all parties involved, including us.
Except
no,
we just got really good pulled pork sandwiches. Started eating them, and the pauses happened.
That's all the Fisher has on the mind.
This is just a kudos to our catering, which our catering is actually awesome. But I do think we don't need to go to food discussions just yet. We can.
We're not desperate yet. Let's get into the meat of this game, Deficio.
All right. Well, first up, Vedius, you have played so much Akali in the last couple of days.
I am an expert.
He is awful
I am
on this
so
champion.
good at Akali. So she has a really bad laning phase.
So first, tell me about the lane matchup and then the composition it was built in and how you think she will do in the rest of the game.
Okay, so in terms of laning phase, that's intentionally supposed to be her weak point.
Okay.
Her wave clear is supposed to be pretty small. Even though she has a low cooldown on her Q, the energy cost is quite high, which means you can't just spam it all the time. So pretty much you go for small trades when you have the W up, meaning you can approach your opposition, and they often just use it to harass a lot. But the laning phase is often where she's at her weakest. Once she gets a single item, because her scaling on her passive is so good and how much mobility she has, in teamfights she's nuts. It's largely because of the Shroud and how much mobility she has. And it's basically just because if you put it in the right place, you can zone single members away from an entire fight. And she has so much kill threat that it's her team fighting that's really scary. So if you don't shut her down in lane, then she becomes really obnoxious to deal with.
And I want to point out as a non-Akali player that I find Akali to be one of the hardest champions to play against ever.
I feel
in
that,
the game.
and I feel that hasn't changed that much because I've always found her difficult to
That's
play.
fair.
That's true.
I just think she's annoying.
It's just, to me, it's the mix of three things.
Three.
Extremely high burst, which obviously means that you probably get destroyed very quickly. Great mobility,
Yes.
and then this W.
Devil's advocate. A lot of those things existed already and were already
Not the
annoying
W.
on Akali. And this is the
Not
kicker.
the W.
Not
The bit I
W.
actually disagree with is the burst, because she actually has huge delays on a lot of her abilities, especially her ult. So when you proc the first use of the ult, there's a 3-second gap between you can actually use the execute. So there's a pretty decent window with which you can play around. The W is what makes it extremely annoying, because while these windows exist, if you're a smart Akali player, you use it to close the gap, then you throw the Shroud down, and then you're like, no.
And I will say, as a squishy champ, that burst will kick in quickly.
It will, yeah.
You don't have to wait the 3 seconds there. Like, the upfront damage she will deal to you, and again, because you feel like, okay, I want to kill her now, so you get one shot on her. She has ways to get HP back. She has the fact that she literally goes invisible or obscure.
We're just going to stop it right there
fancy.
because the players are ready. So
I can
we'll
keep
pick
talking about
this-
Akali.
Are
We
they
actually
ready?
have a Akali breakdown by Vedius coming tomorrow in Ready Check, so we can do that. But now we're going to watch UOL versus G2. We're going back into game, so Medic, take it away.
Yeah, let's get right back on into the game as quickly as possible. Although I have Ender next to me.
Hey,
So
man.
we never know how long it's going to
I
be.
have to let you guys know that right after the camera cut away from us, Medic assaulted me.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's true.
Do I
Everyone
look like
in
someone
the
who would
stands
do that?
knows it.
I don't think we have any footage of me doing that.
We'll
so-
get it. We'll get it for the break, I'm sure.
Okay. We are going to jump back on into the game. And there we are. This is a game of League of Legends, everyone. I know you may have forgotten what it looked like. This is what this one looked like. And G2 had a 1,000 gold advantage, a fed Akali, a fed Varus, a mediocrely fed Wonder as well. We're starting to see those first completed items. And it looks like it's going to be a nice Vow from Jankos. Could go towards Perks, of course, on the Akala or on Hjarnan as well.
I would expect it to be for Hjarnan, the consistent DPS you get out of the Varus. Maybe a little bit better for that option. I'm also seeing 4 Merc Tread purchases here by G2. They know there's some CC on the side of the Unicorns 11 are all aligned that the best way to get out of that is some good old-fashioned tenacity.
And because you don't have an auto-attack based AD carry, the Ninja Tabi doesn't really give you that much as well because you're not reducing those auto-attacks.
I mean, you're going to look at some insane damage from this Jhin later on. Because this is Hella Blade's Jhin.
Yeah, but 10% reduction doesn't really do that much against Hella Blades.
Yeah, it does. Jin's autos will be doing insane
But
damage.
10%.
10%'s a big number.
Maybe in North America you can't count that high, but like, for me, big numbers, 1 million,
Yeah.
2 million.
10% is a big number,
Okay.
especially of something like 2 million.
That's true.
That's a lot.
It's a great deal. Teams resetting here. As you can see, mid lane tower down from G2. They could go up towards this top side. They've got Perks splitting. Talked about the possibility of a 1-3-1 from this G2 lineup. Unicorns still looking for the picks. Have brought Samix and Totoro into the mid lane.
Now, Unicorns have a lot of vision around that top side, so they know what's going on with G2 as they summon the Rift Herald. Now, the response from them needs to be able to break this turret in the mid lane, but I don't think they can do that because the Herald already has the first turret topside. G2 can continue to escort it down that lane and look for yet another turret if Unicorns do not respond quickly enough.
White Knight has been pushing in this bottom lane, though, getting a tower for himself down there. Perks trading onto Exile, exhausted. Oh, jump all the way back in with the Shuriken flip, but has to flash away. Here's the Tahm Kench. Gold comes in from the side. Hella blades and hella damage on a Perks.
To the face! Samix shoots him down. Perks went a little bit too deep because as soon as you travel with that second cast of the E on the Akali, there's no getting out of that one. You're going to follow him all the way through the flash, way too deep under the turret, and Perks goes down for it.
His heart was telling him no.
But his body was telling him yes.
You were going to sing that for a second there?
I was going to, but then I thought better of it.
I've sung once or twice on cast. It doesn't come out well when you do your VOD reviews later on. Let's have another look at this replay, though.
Yeah, so Perks starts off with the ultimate to close the gap and then go in, and he thinks he can make it. The spectator lags out a second there because Perks does follow him through that flash. And of course, with the rotation coming in with the Tahm Kench as well as Cold's Gragas, there was no way out for Perks.
And it's one of the benefits Unicorns have with this composition, the global rotations. Semi-global. Tahm Kench and the Rise can just move around the map very quickly, which does make it a lot harder for G2 to go for this 1-3-1 strategy. Such an important game for them, of course, because they do lock playoffs with a win, and they lock Unicorns out. Wonder just able to dodge away from the chain.
A bold attempt there from White Knight to try and catch out Wonder. Of course, Cold is still in the area.
Flash into the explosive cast. Hex use just hits the edge of the wall, but Cold can still chase this. Looking for the body slam into the barrel. Doesn't quite connect Wonder with the fancy feet.
That was so clean from Wonder. Oh my god, that man just juked out the knock-up from White Knight's sweet spot with his own ultimate, then gets the max range hook shot onto a wall to escape. This is why we praise this guy, because he's got the moves down pat, Medic.
I do like praising people who have done some dance practice. It's very important, of course, that you do learn some sort of dance throughout your life. I'm pretty sure I taught you salsa on a night out the other day.
Did you?
Actually, no, maybe after you went home.
Yeah,
That's what
no,
other
you
people
definitely
call
did not
salsa.
teach me
It's very
salsa.
enjoyable. Salsa.
Salsa, that's how I say it.
Incorrectly.
You say incorrectly, but
You gonna finish that sentence?
yeah, I'll finish it.
Okay.
See, now, you might not like this, but your people invented English, right? That's fair. My people invented Hollywood. Therefore, we now own English because the
okay.
English everyone hears is American English.
That is actually, it's surprising you say that because the reason that people think frogs go ribbit, even though they don't throughout the world, is because the frogs in Hollywood go ribbit. So everyone's like, what's the noise a frog makes? Ribbit,
Yeah.
ribbit. They don't do that noise in other countries. Different species
But
of
everyone
frogs.
accepts it as true because we said it.
Anything you see on TV or hear on Twitch is true. I think that's what we've learned here. Let's get back on into the game, though. Still only a slight gold lead for G2. The pace has just been brought down a little bit after those pauses as people start to get towards these second, third items, but we do have Ginsu's Blade of the Ruin King finished on Hjarnan. Zonya's on Perks now as well, and the Storm Razor rapid fire cannon for Sam.
And the rest of G2 is looking for the claps onto White Knight.
Hextech ultimatum used. White Knight trying to dodge away from this, but he's just going to get locked up, stunned down, and he will fall. The World Ender's world has been ended. Looking for the flash across the wall here. Flashes. Oh, he got out! God, he's too good! Holy moly, White Knight!
Perks is on the chase,
Perks,
though.
Don't do it. Let him get away. Mercy! Mercy, please, Perks!
Get him out of there! Get him out! That is cheating! Come on, man! That was actually like the 2000 IQ flash from White Knight. The headset flies off of Medic's face. But oh my word, White Knight almost did it. That was actually absurd. Unfortunately, Unicorns, they can't do anything at the moment except run up topside because G2, they've got all the pressure in both mid lane and bottom lane.
Wonder still has to teleport as well to join the fight. White Knight up in 16 seconds.
You back?
I'm back. I'm good.
I was buying some time for you there.
It's never happened to me casting it twice in one game. My headset's fallen off. Okay, Yana's going to start up the Ocean Drake here. G2 upping the tempo a little bit with this push from Wonder. Samux coming down. It isn't actually going to challenge the Camille. Instead, that's going to be left to White Knight. And it looks like Unicorns are going to try and set up this Baron vision. As they do scale up, they have some strong members, but really looking towards how they're going to enact the next few minutes. How are they going to find these team fights, find these picks that they need to get back into the game? This is a way they could do it, but Totoro, you're all by yourself there, mate. You have Teleport and Cleanse. Probably isn't the best tools for fighting an Akali.
And usually when you see Totoro in the enemy jungle, he's on an All-Star, he's on a Pike, he's looking for plays. This is the insanity in the bottom lane, because at first, I was looking at this, I'm like, White Knight, you never flash in this situation, you're definitely going to go down. Of course, he buys so much time with the World Ender, can go for the revive, and you see positions himself in between the two bushes, starts walking towards the one on the left, flashes towards the right, and there's Control Ward over that wall. Doesn't see him in the bush. He almost makes it out, so we get another fight.
Huge fight starting in the bottom lane already. Wonder down, explosive cast use Perks has to go obscure to get away. Here's the curtain call with Did, blocks it up with the Unbreakable, knocked up as well. Prison misses, White Knight over the wall, and Unicorns find the fight they need in the top lane.
And now they can move into the Baron. It's a 5 versus 3 situation. Unicorns have been looking for an opportunity. The rest of G2, though, is ready to approach this pit and look for the fight.
Perks still has Flash, Ult, and Ignite. Hexagon Blade and Zonya's on him as well. Jankos looking for the second Baron steal of the day, but Perks is going to jump in. The first stun goes obscure, dodges out the chains. White Knight still tanking up the Baron. Chain of Corruption comes out from G2, just reset the fight, but the Unicorns have evaded the first engage from G2. Jankos waiting across the wall, 3,000 HP left on the Baron. They dive onto the Sejuani. He's so tanky though, and they have to disengage. Back onto the Baron. He does not get the steal. Unicorn secure, but Wonder's coming in with the teleport now, and Unicorns need to get out of this. Yarden's so low, Wonder dives in. Perks there, the double's alive, the sweet spot, and Unicorns get the Baron, and they're going to try and get away from this one. Perks running for the wins, but he is running straight into the mouths of the wolves. Turns it back around. Samux immediately flashes away.
And he can't click on Perks right there because he's got this Shroud. Insane stuff. Now, of course, Unicorns, they still get the Baron. Cold comes up clutch in the heat of the moment. And all of a sudden, we are dead even in this game once more. Unicorns just slightly behind in the gold, but now that they have the Baron, they have the tools to start pressuring down some of these towers and get some well-needed control over the rest of this map.
Let's have another look at this fight. This is Wonder going for the first fight on Unicorn.
Yeah, this is all the way at the start where Wonder goes super deep onto Exile, doesn't realize the rest of UOL is in the area. And then this engage sort of fizzles out a bit. Of course, they do catch down onto it. White Knight is the big hero there, landing the sweet spot knock-up to catch out that Braum. But then when it comes for the re-engage, Perks didn't have the ultimate at this point, but it doesn't matter. Jankos is not able to get that steal, but the teleport comes through from Wonder. He's back at full HP, ready to enter into this fight. You can just see the rest of G2 get out with murder right here, with Perks escaping on that bottom side.
All it would have taken is one or two more shots.
Going in.
Kench going in. It's White Knight on that backline as well. A great explosive cast separates the fight. Jarnan's so low, but White Knight unable to get the final shot. Goes into the World Ender. It's going to be resurrected. Totoro now running for the hills as Perks comes in. Wonder down. Gets the kill on Totoro, and the Unicorns maybe bit off a little bit more than they could chew.
I've seen this before from the Unicorns of Love. They win a fight, they get a Baron, and then they try to dive a tower. It is a consistent mistake for this team. And again, it looks so good. White Knight almost gets that kill. Maybe in a different situation, he does end up getting that kill, but it's these coin flip plays that the Unicorns of Love are known for that cost them so consistently here, game after game.
This game has gone from a very mild-mannered curry to a spicy tandoori. Now, I don't know why I use that metaphor, by the way.
No, I like it, man. I am so hungry.
I'm a big fan of a tandoori, but I'm just so excited to see how this game has accelerated. Exile's now got a Spellbinder, Seraphs, and the Rod of Ages. Unicorns are fighting for their lives, fighting for that playoff spot. And G2 having to find any semblance of a carry to really get them through these fights.
And it's Yarnin I'm looking at now. He's the only player on the side of G2 that has yet to go down in a fight. He's the consistent source of DPS in team fights. As long as he's able to survive, things are going to look good for him. But now Wonder, he's looking for Samix.
Toto is going to gobble up his AD carry. Samix back in the team today has actually done an incredible performance on this Jhin. Stayed even in CS with Yarnin.
Oh, here we go.
Here comes the engage from the side. Wonder jumps in as well. It's all on to Samus, but Totoro just gobbles him up once again, gets him out. Explosive cast knocks him back. And look at the split push here. And Baron still remains on the rise on the Aatrox. They are just pushing in these towers.
And G2 have to get back to base, but right now, Unicorns Love are threatening onto these objectives. Already have one. Unicorns, the other three members, are stepping up and trying to cancel these ports.
Exile needs to get out of here, because all of G2 is on their way up. Exile use the Realm Warp now, because otherwise you are a done man. Perks jumps forward into the obscurity, but does not want to fight against a 2-level advantage for Exile.
But now with G2 sort of scrambling to get across the map, Unicorns once again have control over this middle lane. They should get that tower. Just keep knocking down these structures, keep clawing back. Now they're ahead in gold at the 30-minute mark.
What has happened to G2? They had such a promising early game. They had a fed Akali, a fed Varus, but they are just collapsing under Unicorns who have found the picks they need. And now it's Unicorns' game. It's in their hands, looking to take down one of the giants of the European LCS.
I mean, if you look at G2 in this game, the first 25 minutes, so coordinated. They had all this vision, setting up plays for them to find picks in side lanes. Then the play right before the Baron happened, that was just Wonder going in. They didn't know where the rest of Unicorns were. And of course, you're playing against two Globals repositioning tools, so Unicorns were able to respond and capitalize off of that play. And now, with the tool of the Baron buff, you have a Rise, you have an Aatrox, you can send those guys into a side lane and, as I said, get back in the lead.
G2 never had that monumental advantage we see from them in games they win. Usually 5,000 gold ahead at the 15-minute mark. This game, 500 to 1,000 ahead. They have got Double Cloud Ocean. They've got those dragons in their back pocket. The next one is an Elder, which Unicorns will have to fight over because they're sitting on no Drakes. They need to make sure that G2 do not get any more advantages.
Even though Unicorns don't have any Drakes themselves, they still have power in itemization. Exile has 3.5 at the moment. Samix just finished off the Infinity Edge, that 3-item spike that comes roughly 3 minutes sooner now on this patch because the overall prices were reduced by 700 gold of those 3 core items. Means he's going to be hitting like a truck. Fight breaks out around this turret.
Hella blades with hella damage if you can get that 4th shot on Perks. That's exactly what you need. Chains doesn't quite connect onto Perks, pulls him back. Unicorns just looking for the chip damage here. Wave pushed in the top lane as well. Unicorns will just back away. Minute on the Baron. Elder still 6 minutes or so away. Got a little while before that one will respawn.
Now the mission for Unicorns is how long can they delay vision from being placed around this Baron buff. They don't want to look for any resets right now because at the moment G2 have no deep vision, have no vision past that river other than perhaps a good flanking teleport ward, but at the moment they're going for the engage.
Realm Warp in, Cold and Totoro in the midst of it all as well. Wonder waiting in the wings, Akali on her way. Perks can get a flank off here. That's both globals used by the Unicorns.
This is actually really bad for Unicorns. You look at the bottom lane, just a massive minion wave building up to crash into that turret. They're going to have to send White Knight down to recover those minions, and that buys time for the rest of G2 to now walk into the river. I don't want to see those recalls, G2. I want to see some wards being placed down, but actually without Wadid in the area, they don't have any wards to place.
You have to have wards to place them. Jankos, okay, for a second he bought a Fairy Charm, and I was like, excuse me, what are you doing, Jankos? Get some wards, and he got a control ward.
Only one?
Only one.
I
mean,
want
it's not
3.
you really should be getting 3 on every single back. That's what Wadid is doing. You can see Perks, no control wards in his inventory, but I think he just used his in that tri-bush there. So trying to get some vision control here. We use the Scryer's Bloom as well to push into the side of Unicorns, and now G2 own this river area.
And what I'm really just going to be tracking in this next fight is where is Perks? Because right now he's deep inside the territory of the Unicorns. Looking for Samix to extend maybe a little bit too far as the rest of G2 look to engage.
Jumps onto Exo, Exo flashes away, Glacial Prism doesn't connect, and Perks goes in, and now perhaps the Unicorns can re-engage because White Knight has the flank, the curtains open. Perhaps is the curtain call for G2's hope at that top spot. White Knight goes into the World Ender, he's going to resurrect, Exhaust used on Wonder, and G2 turn this one back around, and Exo ultimatum is huge, the separation in this fight, but no one is dying, and the Unicorns get 1, they lose 2, G2 reset, back away, Samix flashes in, it's not enough damage, and he will pay for it with his life. He's done. G2 clean up the fight. Cold getting chased down here as well by Wadid. He will escape, but what a moment to flash forward from Samix.
Oh, Samix looked for the hero play right there. He gets the kill onto Perks. Maybe it's different. Maybe Unicorns win the fight, get the Baron, but no. It's G2, it's Perks surviving, who can now turn things around, take down maybe not just an inhibitor, but those death timers are so long they could go back and even start up the Baron for that little bit extra on top.
You gotta get all the things if you're G2 here. You get the inhibitor in the mid lane, turn your eyes towards the Baron as well. Might decide against it because Cold has Smite, and you do not.
That's true.
Jankos is on his way across there as well, but that fight was so close. Like 10 more damage from Samix would have been enough to take down Perks. But because Perks survived, he was able to get a little bit more out in the final fight.
And I have to continue to praise Hjarnan. Of course, Samix had high damage numbers too, but Hjarnan still deathless in this game on the Varus. This is a pick that you expect to be dove on into the backline, be punished by his lack of mobility. But no, he's been doing great. Of course, now he has the GA to maybe make it a little bit easier for himself. But the fact that he's still itemizing defensively, but pumping out this DPS is a major, major boon here for G2.
G2 playing down towards the bottom side of the map here with Elder Dragon up in a minute and a half. You can understand why, but Baron is up and Unicorns are going to secure their vision around it. Wonder still has teleport to join the fight if he needs. And as we zoom out on the game, you can see that G2 still only 1,000 gold ahead, still a little bit tentative in this game.
Yeah, for G2 though, if they're going to try to force a fight, I think it has to be off the back of a flank from Wonder, a flank from Perks. They've got a lot of deep vision inside this jungle for the Unicorns of Love. Wonder, he's got teleport. He can maybe look for a play. All they have to do is decide when to start up that objective, but maybe they just wait a little bit longer because we're just a minute away from Elder Dragon spawning. They already have 3 elementals to go ahead and buff that up. So it seems like they just want to play it safe, play it calm at the moment and not take any risks, because again, the game is still so close in terms of gold, even though G2 do have that inhibitor.
And with the wave pushing in, that's what allows G2 to get that vision control. White Knight does have his own teleport, so if Wonder TP's away, he can match. You can see Jankos trying to force a play onto Samix here in the mid lane, not going to be able to connect just yet. Wonder is also level 18, level advantage over his lane opponent, has 70 CS up as well, which means he's sitting at 4 items, whereas White Knight is only sitting at 3.
I have to say Totoro switched over to the Smite with the Unsealed Spellbook as well, so Unicorns have options if a Baron is started up to look for a Smite steal. Maybe ambitious there from Totoro without a flash in the pit, but we got to fight.
Fight straight onto Cold. Glacial Prism used as well. Totoro low, cleanses away. Perks on the back line, trying to dive on Samix, but the Zonya's used cleanse as well. Hjarnan on a killing spree once again. He's the one alive. He's the one dishing out the DPS in this fight. The World Ender comes out, but White Knight just running for the hills here as G2 are wiping Unicorns off the face of the map with dead falls, and maybe the Unicorns can turn it back around because the chains will not quite pull back. It's Hjarnan, but he is done. Back into the GA, they kill the Aatrox. Wonder dives onto Samix. Samix takes him out, shot to the face, and the curtains open from the side. One shot on Hjarnan, misses the second. Perks blocking it as Hjarnan trying to dodge around. The third does not connect enough as well, but Unicorns survive through the fight.
Oh my, Samix and Exile not going down, so pivotal to this team. They have so much damage built up at the moment. The fact that the assassination attempt from G2 couldn't quite finish them off changed the entire landscape of this fight because, again, I have to say, it is so key for G2, the fact that Hjarnan can sit back and freely auto-attack. They have so many people diving into the backline that Hjarnan is untouched during the entirety of this team fight, putting down auto-attack after auto-attack after auto-attack. He bursts through the front line immediately, but after that becomes the issue here. You saw nothing! We're back in the game!
That replay was brought to you by Ace of Predator as this Baron fight starts. Perks was looking for the steal, but he's not going to get it. Baron goes down to the Unicorns of Love, and Perks pushing in the mid lane. A bug splat, a Chrono Breaker pause, who cares? This game is electrifying. Even in gold, 37 minutes in between Unicorns in 9th place and G2 fighting for the top 2.
Oh my, this is actually just insane, man. It's been going on for so long. Not just in-game, but out-of-game, too. It's been a while. Man, though, G2 not trying to give over any ground. We're going to have to figure out how exactly that Baron ended up happening because it was an even fight between these two teams, and somehow the Unicorns were able to convert that into a major objective.
Unicorns get the Baron, and there's an Elder Drake on the card too as well. Look at where Perks is. Ooh. Look at this sneaky guy just hiding near the red buff of the Unicorns of Love, trying to get a flank off if he can. The Elder Dragon started by the Unicorns. Here comes Perks. Vision cleared out. Perks is across the wall. They spot him. They know he's there. They can try and fight to start up on the top side of this. Jankos running away. Use the Blast Cone, White Knight. Knock yourself back out. The Glacial Prism used as well.
They're going to burst it down.
On the Elder Dragon. It resets. They can't burst it when it resets. Perks coming in from the bottom side of this fight, and we did. White Knight not in a good spot by now. He's on his own. The Chain of Corruption comes out. Here's Perks on the back line. That's exactly what you need. G2 find the fight. The stun. Samux gobbled up. Gets out back alive. Cold down now, and Perks dives in. 1, 2. Goodbye. Goodbye, Unicorns of Love. That's 2 down, and Exile to last to follow as well. It's going to be a clean ace here from G2. They find the perfect flank at the perfect moment, and they shut down Unicorns.
The collapse on the side from Perks, the turn from the core unit of G2. That is going to be the game. Hjarnan teleports up into the top side of the map. We're still 30 seconds away from the bot lane of the Unicorns respawning. G2 are going to crush this base.
Oh, what a performance from both of these teams. G2 somehow eke out some semblance of victory from this game, but they will not be happy. After this performance, they will go for the Nexus Towers. They'll take them out as well. What a performance from the Unicorns of Love, fighting with every inch of their life. But in the end, G2 take the win in a hard-fought clash.
Absolutely ridiculous gameplay. They lock in the Akali last for Perks. He had some highlight moments, but it wasn't just him. The bot lane of G2 stepped up. Hjarnan, 0 deaths in this game, doing everything. The glue that bound the team composition of G2 together. It was Hjarnan on the Varus.
What a game that was. I can't even describe it. It was just absolutely crazy. G2 will be happy with the win, but we will be looking at Misfits tomorrow and saying we need to up our game a little bit if we're going to keep challenging for those top 2 positions and the bye in playoffs, of course, and the position in Madrid.
It's fantastic because all of a sudden, start a split. We had a clear-cut top 3, top 4. Now every team here in Europe is stepping up to the challenge, really competing head-to-head with our best teams in the league, and it's looking close. The overall level is just so packed together at the moment.
It is, and with that win, G2 have locked their spot, of course, in playoffs alongside Fnatic and Misfits, so they are all there. Schalke and Vitality have defined ties as well. They will definitely be in a tiebreaker, if not locked into playoffs later on today. Unicorns are now locked out, but what a performance to go out on. Like, they still have 3 more games to split, but riding out on a high like that, I'd be very pleased.
So back and forth. I believe they got 2 Barons during that game. Impressive stuff out of both of these teams. But yeah, I was waiting for the damage numbers here for Hjarnan in the bottom lane. That man just never got touched.
Yeah. Always able to survive on that backline. You could see so often Cold would be going in there, trying to get the cask on. You have the Realm Warp onto the backline as well, but they could never quite catch out Hjarnan.
And let's not forget this goal difference over time. G2 had an advantage, but Unicorns fought tooth and nail to get it back. Won a team fight, picked up the Baron on top of that. Overall, just so close. It was crazy.
We're going to have another look at that final fight, because what a fight it was. My eyes were on Perks, but your eyes should be on Hjarnan.
Yeah, Hjarnan just auto. There's no one that can reach him. Perks in the backline, though, lands a 3-man stun with the first cast of that ultimate.
just waits for the rest of the team to dive on in, and I have to say it, every single fight, the combination of Perks coming in on a flank and Wonder just diving straight past the front line of the Unicorns made it so that no one could touch on it. It bought time for this player to absolutely devastate the composition of the Unicorns.
That's exactly what he did. What a performance all round from him. And I'm impressed by the fact that coming into this week, coming into 8-15, I thought that G2 would really struggle with Hyanan on AD carries. He's always been a good Varus player, a good utility player, Jhin as well, but you always wonder whether he's actually going to be able to step up to the level of performance like people like Sven and Mithy, who he replaced.
Yeah, and he did the job today. I need to see more from that. I need to see growth here from G2 because they've had a pretty stagnant playstyle for a long time that hasn't necessarily cost them up until recently. And if now we have players like Hjarnan and Wadid really stepping up on picks that aren't just mages in the bottom lane, gives so many options here for G2 to change around what they want to bring to the table.
Well, if you guys think someone stood out in that game, which a lot of people stood out in that game, be sure to vote for Player of the Game at LOL Esports on Twitter. Hjarnan, Wadid, and Wonder are your options. Thinking about it more, I think I'd go Wadid. Wadid had some very good unbreakables and sacrificed himself a lot for the team, which is what you have to do as a support.
You filthy support main, you.
It's as if I play support.
I know how this man thinks. You guys know at home.
If there was a jungler there, you'd be like, oh yeah, Jankos all the time. Yeah, oh, it's so good.
Jankos is really good.
He was really good. But after the break, Fnatic superstar AD carry Reckless steps back onto the EU LCS stage as he and his team look to put down an end to Giants' miracle run. Don't go anywhere. Reckless.